and let's see what happens. So first of all, let me enter the slate here. We are talking about social media success. This is element 4, episode 4, I mean, of the elements of marketing. I'm Drew Neiser, I'm your host, and I am here with Scot Safon. Scot, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm sorry you're having to do this as a deaf man. I will tell you that I actually am hearing impaired. So I have some sympathy for what you're going through. But what I will do is when I'm
going to turn my thing off and see if I can hear you through the computer. All right. Can you still hear me now?
I can hear you, yeah.
That's weird. All right, well. Oh! All right. Let's see. Now, can I hear you?
I can hear you.
Okay. I got it. This is bizarre. Sorry, Scot. Temporary. We're gonna start again. Pause. Kinda. Okay. So this is take 2. Elements of marketing. Let's see. Social media success with my guest Scot Safon. How are you, Scot?
I'm good. How are you doing, Drew?
I'm doing well. So I'm calling you live from the Customer Service Summit here in Brooklyn, New York. It's been a really entertaining and interesting summit. So tell me, what's the latest in your life? What are you up to?
I am. There are 2 tracks that my life is going on right now. I was most recently, I've been the chief marketing officer at the Weather Channel, but I left that job at the end of last year, and I have been talking to other companies about potentially joining as them as their chief marketing officer. And they're either traditional media companies that have traditional chief marketing officer jobs, or they are other companies that are trying to figure out how people with a media marketing and content strategy background might fit into their organization. It's made me realize just how many advertisers are thinking of themselves as media companies now, even if they've never been involved in media in their lives. So it's been a very interesting thing. The other thing I'm doing is I tell people I've been a marketing chiropractor. I have been helping people. People will bring me their marketing strategies or their positioning statements or their plans, and I will give them a tweak and an adjustment, which is all they just need to hear from somebody else who's doesn't live inside their business to give them some feedback on stuff. So that's what I've been doing. Got it.
All right. Well, cool. Let's talk about social media success. I'm gonna try to get rid of that echo. When you were at Weather Channel, what were some of the things that you progressed forward that you really felt good about in the social space?
A lot of I'll just go a little even further back than that, because I was the chief marketing officer at CNN for many years too, throughout from 2002 to 2010. And at companies like CNN and the Weather Channel, social media was a very natural extension of our business because we were in the live reporting business. So, as social media kind of emerged in like around 2005, 2006 in various forms, it was spurred on by the news cycle or the weather news event or whatever. So it was always very naturally going to be part of what we did, part of what we would pay attention to. It wasn't really seen per se as a marketing vehicle or even as a lifestyle thing. It was more of an information source and a way of just trading information. So I always felt very much like it was part of my job to be immersed in whatever social media platform it was. We didn't call it social media back then either. So right now what I'm sort of seeing, obviously everybody is engaged in social media, not only as a business, as a part of their business life, but in their personal life. And I think now that it's in the hands, social media is in the hands of everybody, people are just inventing new ways of making social media an everyday part of things. And at the Weather Channel, we just were like, okay, social media is going to be how we get information to people, let them know severe weather is coming, or get them, aware of information that they might need, or explain something that just happened in a part of the country that they're curious about. It was just like, all I said is like, it's just a very, very natural part of the day-to-day life in organizations like that. It's been interesting to me to see how it's become a day-to-day part of every other business's life and every person's life. If you have children, you're a super social media centric. You're paying attention to it a ridiculous amount of time because you have kids that are building their own brands, their personal brands on social media, and they don't even realize they're doing it. So you become an expert in personal branding if you're a parent too.
Cool. One of the things that you and I talked about is how much of an advantage media companies have, and you're in the content business. So talk a little bit about some of the more creative things that you did either at Weather Channel or earlier.
In terms of content and social media, or in terms of?
Yeah, in terms of social and things that you did that you went, wow, that was so cool.
Well, I'll tell you that I get pleasantly surprised by the way people are using digital platforms to do content initiatives all the time. But what started me getting excited about it was during the 2008 presidential election. I was at CNN, and really Facebook, YouTube were really just YouTube wasn't even a social media platform, but it's not. But it was sort of acting a little bit like one. But Facebook definitely was a social media platform, and it was growing very fast. And because we were in the news business and we saw how much something we said was instantly being talked about on all those other platforms, and people were doing stuff with clips and everything, we're like, we have to get in the game here because other people are taking our content and making new content on Facebook on their own feeds, or they're making new content on Twitter from clips of stuff we're doing. So we have to play in that game. So the election or the presidential race allowed us a chance to just play in that field very aggressively. And that even started with the first of the, although it seems like old hat now, but the first partnership that a big news organization ever did with a non-news organization when we worked with YouTube to do one of the first Democratic and Republican debates in the 2008 race. And it was thrilling because it seems unusual now, like what you just got questions submitted from viewers, but that was shocking to have non-journalists providing questions for presidential candidates. So that was like sort of the first of it. And the next big thing was the inauguration of Barack Obama in January of 2009. And we just did a partnership with Facebook and, worked the CNN folks, technology folks, and the Facebook technology folks worked together to create an opportunity to watch the streamed inauguration with your Facebook friends. And you could watch, you could just sort of share the event. And that nowadays doesn't seem all that remarkable, but that day, everybody was all excited about the inauguration, and I was all excited about the fact that, oh my God, I'm streaming this and watching this with every friend I've ever had all around the world, and we're all watching the same event and talking about it as it's happening. And that was also a glimpse into the future. Nowadays, I get excited about, if an award show is on, I go right onto Twitter just to watch the Twitter stuff happening right as the show is going on. And when somebody says something shocking on any television show, I just open up Twitter right away. I was like, oh my God, I got to see what people are saying about this. I got to see what people are doing there. So the stuff that people are consciously creating as content for social media is interesting to me, but what the audience is doing automatically is super interesting to me.
Hey, Scott, give me one second. I'm going to try to switch my, Roy, hang on there a second. I'm going to switch from one to another. Just my connection's better. I may disappear. Hopefully this will work though.
Oh, I think we lost you, Drew.
He's loading back up.
Well, okay, Roy, it's our show now.
I guess that's why he wanted me to jump in, so there's somebody else to interview here. In fact, I'd like to do that. I'd like to interview you till he doesn't come back. Yeah. So what about we do that? Cool. So yeah, my dog likes to interview you as well.
Ah.
He's quite possessive, and whenever I'm talking, he thinks like I'm talking to somebody else, so he wants attention.
Absolutely. I have two dogs that are just outside those doors, thinking that I'm supposed to be talking to them.
Okay. Are they like attention-seeking dogs, or are they calm?
Very high maintenance during the day.
Okay, then I guess I'll ask you a few questions till Drew doesn't come back. Yeah? Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Cool. So see, I'll just like give you a brief about myself before I ask you a question. So what I do is I do social media marketing, and I'm a consultant, a freelance consultant for small businesses in America and Australia and UK. And I'm based and I work out of home in India, in Mumbai actually. So yeah, so I'm quite a marketing enthusiast, and I've always been a strong believer in marketing. And one of the things I wish people understand is the difference between marketing and sales. They always confuse. That's one of the challenges I come across dealing with clients. They think marketing means immediate sales. They don't understand that it's building a brand and connecting with your audience. So anyways, that's a brief about what I have in mind. And okay, so here's my question. I'm really, happy that I can talk to you here and get some of your wisdom. So yes. So tell me something. What made you get to CNN? How did you get to CNN? As a marketing guy.
Well, yeah. So I was my way into the marketing world was I was very interested in the media. So growing up, I always wanted to work in the media, and I also loved advertising, the form of advertising. So I was very enthusiastic about that, and I was looking for a job where I could be strategic and creative and work with strategic and creative people. And I also was just enthusiastic about media. So I didn't actually know how that business worked. I just didn't. But undergraduate, I was like a history major, but I went right to graduate business school. And in graduate business school, I was studying marketing and finance, and I started to learn more about how businesses work. And I was like, oh, marketing is actually a really important part of the business. That is something that will lead to, if you do it right, that's an investment you make to build your brand, to ultimately create a successful business. So it all started to become a little clearer to me.
Oh, no, it's absolutely right. Oh, that's funny. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So,
Roy's like the COO of this.
Yeah, Roy, another kick save and a beauty. Unbelievable. I didn't realize. See, I hit record on the desktop, which of course is no longer in play here. So that's interesting. Now I want to sort of switch gears just slightly because I'm at this social. It's really a customer service conference, and what's so interesting about it is the progression in just 2 years in terms of the way social is being integrated into the entire sort of contact center process, that some of these folks are taking social feedback and not only changing the product, but sometimes creating new product as a result of things that they hear. You and I talked in the book, which I haven't shown yet, so I can, now that we're live and we have the tech. So in here, Scott, we talk a little bit about the challenge of social listening and how you could hear, like you said, a bunch of people would hear some feedback and they go, oh, well, we got to fire, we got to get rid of that character or something because one person. How did you sort of use social feedback in terms of programming specifically?
Well, it's very, it's definitely, there's more art to it than science because, what tends to happen, and this is understandable. Like, just think about what used to happen when people do focus groups, and you would say there'd be one highly opinionated person in the focus group, and they would say, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen. You have to stop this." And inevitably, there'd be somebody behind the mirror with you going, "We have to kill this product." And we're like, "Wait, that's one person." Other 10 people in the audience were like, the other people, 10 people in the focus group didn't say anything, but they like this product. So, like, it's that same thing, and you have to apply that kind of caution when you're reading your social media stuff too. That's why I do think that it's been interesting for companies when they hit a particularly negative or particularly vocal respondent, for them to outreach to that person to find out, is this maybe they should ask, maybe they should find out. But the trickiest thing is to make sure that, because the other thing about social media is, like, everybody can see it. So everybody in your organization can see it too. So even an administrative assistant is going to say, "Wow, did you see? Like, they hate this show because this up through this." The chairman of the board is like, "Wow, I saw that quote. That person, wait, that wasn't a critic. That wasn't an advertiser. That wasn't a person, a stockholder. That was like an anonymous person who might have been fired from the cast of that show." And is like, you don't know. And so, I would frequently and I still do frequently caution people not to. I had a boss who once said, "You're never as good as your best review, and you're never as bad as your worst." And but that doesn't absolve you from figuring out what am I supposed to be learning from the feedback I'm getting. And I think what you have to do is, a few sober-minded people have to look at all of it, and not just the stuff you might see on one social platform, but everything. And really you can dashboard it, which a lot of people do, or you can just really just have a group of people that are paying a lot of attention to it. I think for marketers that are really in the CRM space, where they are doing transactions daily with customers, and their service, driven if it's a retail establishment, if it's a hospitality brand, we think they have to have a well-staffed organization that is actively meeting with people and following up on that stuff, because it's out there. That's customer service.
That's cool. I think Ted is jumping in. I think Ted Rubin. Have you ever met him, Scott?
I don't think I have.
He is Mr. Amazing. Return on relationship. But it doesn't want it wants you to come in, Ted, and then it doesn't. You're not coming in. I wonder how your internet connection is. All right. Well, while Ted is, I'm giving you props. I'm trying to give you props. In fact, you're getting props, but you're not even on. All right. Well, we have. If there was a tech fail today. I wonder if I should just shut my computer, this thing down here, so that I don't even. It's not. Now. So, well, he tried, and he's now.
Sorry, Ted.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Ted. Sorry, Ted. So one of the bizarre things about using your phone is when you do the message responses, your image disappears. Anyway, I'm going to keep this going. We are just going to fight through. It's like having a blizzard, a tech blizzard. So one of the things that came up a lot in this conference was the need to try to resolve issues while you in the channel that the issues are raised. And I think it's really tricky in the world of the Weather Channel and so forth. I mean, first of all, what kind of issues would come up if there were such a thing? And how would you try to resolve them?
Wait,
like this complaint.
Say again what the subject was.
So the subject, the basic idea is someone complains about your product or service on Twitter. You should try to fix it on Twitter, right? If they complain on Facebook, you should try to, and the old rule was try to get them offline as fast as you could, get them to a telephone number, get them to a call. And now the new science is resolve it on, all right, we're going to try Ted again. And so you resolve it right in the context of the medium, even if it's a complicated technical challenge, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that's, I mean, I definitely think that for a lot of cases, you want to do it because you want to demonstrate to everybody else. I mean, to the extent that that would be seen by other people, you want to demonstrate how you respond and how the back and forth work. So I think that that's good. When I go on TripAdvisor or Yelp and people and the businesses respond to the person who had the problem, then I think that's good. I mean, I'm always curious to see how the response is formulated, and it makes me, even if it was a complaint that started, I will think better of the brand or the company if to see how when I see how they've responded to the complaint. Of course, if I see a series of the same kind of complaint, that doesn't help me. That's not great.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Hang on a second. That was a bad idea. Yeah, it's really, it's just such a fascinating field. And I feel like it's evolving so quickly in terms of customer care. But let's get back to some of the fun stuff. Let's get back to the really good moments where, because you remain an enthusiast of social media. You remain a big advocate and passionate about it. And and that's one of the reasons that I'm so excited to be talking to you, technology willing. And so talk to me about some of the things that were, that you really liked about social, and why you continue to believe it's such a powerful tool for media companies in particular.
Well, I mean, to me, it's the equivalent of, like, if we were having this conversation in 1953 and you'd said, this television thing, a lot of people like it, and you think it's here to stay. And I'm like, yeah, because you can't go back. I mean, it's too good, and there's bad versions of it, and there's ridiculous things that happen with it, and it's technology. The technology was still coming together, so it was not working in some places. You had antennas that people would have to put tinfoil on and stuff like that, and so that I feel the same way about social media, in a weird kind of way, because first of all, our kids have grown up with it, so they are not even thinking about a world where it is not absolutely a part of how they communicate with each other and how they discover new content and how they invent and create. Their first thought, I mean, still with my 17-year-old, we go to a restaurant, that food is delivered to her. She takes a picture of that food and puts it on the screen. So without a second thought, she's not sitting there going, I'm going to use social media now. She's like automatically. Because that's a point of connection with her friends over something that they share, which is the appreciation of how food is presented in a restaurant and the communication of the fact that I'm having an experience outside in the world. Aren't you jealous of it? But now that's the nature of the conversation. That's the nature of all of it now. So it's not going away. So
well, we know that.
Right. So, and why not embrace it and love it too? Because it's everything we actually would have wanted. Like, I think we talked about this in the past, but it's something we would have wanted at any point in the world of marketing. We would have said, word of mouth. That's what I wish for. That's what I want. Right. And because we always knew by saying that the human, the peer-to-peer kind of stuff was going to be hugely important in the success of any kind of brand. And this just makes peer-to-peer recommendations and discovery and support and everything. It just makes it real, and people want to interact that way. They don't want to hear from institutions as much, or if they do, they want to do it in a way where they'll hear from the institution and they'll go to their peers and go, are they good? Are they bad? Do we like them? Are they cool enough for us? Do they have a product that meets our needs? And so to me, you got to hardwire into it. You just have to, and you want to. It's better. I've had some people say, is this making business more expensive or cheaper? And it's like, both. because it.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah, I mean, you have to staff to do it, but I think it's probably saving you a lot of It's probably, helping, spur on your product development. It's probably jump-starting your CRM in a big way. It certainly allows you to test things and float trial balloons in a more adventurous way. And at the same time, it probably cuts, I hate to say this, but it probably cuts down on your traditional advertising spending because, for some brands, that's not going to be the thing that they do anymore.
Yeah, it was interesting. So I'll give you some feedback from this group here who really are on the front line of customer service. And the argument that they all made initially was that we could actually lower the cost of interaction, right? Because if I can move you from the call center, which is $6 an engagement, versus social media, which is $1 engagement, I've saved the company $5 per interaction. Of course, they had to staff up to deal with it. Comcast has gone from 12 people on their social customer service team to 85, and they plan to go from 85 to 150 in the next year and a half. They're just, in a sense, probably moving, and they're adding to their call center. So but that's a whole nother issue. So there's money being saved on that standpoint. But I think the more impressive thing, and this was phenomenal, is that these folks, their listening skills, this is for companies like Microsoft or even Hershey, talking to Kevin of one of the guys who was really in charge of customer care over there. And they are listening to the point that not only can they say, oh, when a product should be brought back, but one of the stories he told today was that they started to hear that people wanted bigger Hershey's peanut butter cups, right? Reese's peanut butter cups. They wanted bigger. So they heard that on social. So they suggested to the product team that they develop a bigger one. So they developed a half-pound one. And social feedback said, yeah, that's good, but go bigger. Go bigger. So they started with special order full pound Reese's peanut butter cups, right? And they started that, and they spread the word via social. They went back to those people, and it was a specialty product. They then sold out online and used the social story to go to Walmart and the bigger chains in order to get that as a national product and not just as a seasonal. So I think social at that point was not a cost center anymore, but it was a new product development fire hose. And that you would sort of expect that new products would come to it. But I tell you, the other area that was so interesting is both Intuit and the Microsoft guy talked about how they are so used to customer issues that people have with software, that when they, particularly Microsoft, when they launched Windows 10, the social team had a seat at the table and could say, if you would just solve this issue, and the issue he mentioned was internet access, a diagnostic tool for internet access, you solve that, we'd probably cut down about 100,000, or whatever the number was. So social listening has just, evolved tremendously in the last year or two, which is impressive. All right, enough from me.
Let me just say, the one thing I want to say about that, because I think that's fantastic, and that's great. I do think it will be interesting to see, though, who are the professionals that you hire in your organization who are really astute about understanding how to do listening and what to take action on and what not, and to take a more nuanced look at social listening and feedback. Because, like, if you were running the Girl Scouts and suddenly you're getting a ton of people going, why are these cookies only available for 3 months out of the year? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Well, a marketer might say, you know what? You better stick to just 3 months out of the year, because that's what makes this thing special. And if it just got available commonly all the time, whatever, you'll never have a sales force excited about selling it in the way they sell it. You'll get bad distribution, and you'll just try to be in supermarket stores, and all of the specialness of that brand might go away. But social media will tell you, people go like, I want to buy Thin Mints every month of the year. I don't know.
Right. And what we talked about that, because I said, how do you know? And so obviously one of the things is that you're first of all, you have to earn trust with the product guys. So you can't go in there and say, here's 10 things you got to fix tomorrow. You have to be really sure. And what they talked about was actually going back to some of these folks, particularly if they could get them into communities, which was sort of safer territory for the brand, but they'd get them from social to these sort of, call them bulletin boards, whatever, the old fashioned community type. And then they could say, all right, let's dig into this product issue a little bit. You say you want this, let's just understand it first. And so suddenly the product people realize, oh, they're not, these guys may be able to have answers that we didn't know we could get this easily. And so they talked about several things. One is being able to listen to this nuanced thing. Two, being able to make the math case. For example, if you heard 700,000 Girl Scout complaints, right? That would be a big number, right? And the data would be there to make the case. But if you hear 10 saying, you don't have the rationalization to go to the CEO and say, hey, we should be selling Girl Scouts year round, right? So I think you're right, Scott, you have to have the right people. But what these guys are saying is, this area is becoming more and more important. Therefore, we're getting better and better and smarter people. And when you tell a customer care person that you're not just going to be answering complaints, but you're going to be you are the closest connection we have to our customer, you've changed their job. You've changed their sort of whole meaning in life.
Think about as you start to be able to filter social media better and you go, look, there's 700,000 people weighed in on this. I actually only care about moms with kids under the age of 10.
Okay, fine.
I just want to see that social media response. And that's
right.
It's hard to do now, but that will become, it's not hard. I mean, it's hard to do now for a lot of marketers.
Right.
It will get easier to do that. The other thing that will change is as things like Periscope and Blab and everything the people start to use these kind of platforms to have that kind of interaction with consumers, and consumers will feel more comfortable just having those kind of interactions, and you'll get more nuance and you'll get more to do some of the social listening and everything. That's why I think it's going to be very interesting to be a marketer 10 years from now. I mean, it'll continue to be an interesting thing to be a marketer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to ever get dull. The folks from Social Media Today are adding a lot of commentary here. I wonder if they could try to jump on, but let's see what they got a question. Why do you hate to say that, Scott? Let's see. Social Media Today is jumping on.
I can't remember what it was that I said I hated to say, but I was probably feeling bad a little bit about the loss of some of the old ways of doing business, but I don't really hate that those things are changing. It's Social Media Today.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. I don't have my makeup on. Here, do my face.
Robin.
Hi.
Oh, Robin, you look awesome. How are you?
I had a little time and I got the email that you were doing this Blab, and I love Blab. So I thought, oh, this is great. And I wanted to meet Scott. So what you had said, Scott, was you hate to say this, but there's been a lot of cut in traditional media budgets. And I said, well, why would you hate to say that? Because that was just such a waste. And yet, it seems like this is the eternal struggle. When I talk to brands and talk to smart people, well, not only always the same people, but I mean, when I talk to a lot of marketers, everyone says display advertising is ridiculous. The guy from Pepsi at the Association for National Advertisers conference 2 weeks ago got up and said programmatic advertising is awful. Everyone wants to block ads, and yet, the budgets explode. And so for a niche publisher like me, it's a very hard thing to fight, this kind of programmatic stuff with the eternal push to lower CPMs. So anyway, I just wanted to say, don't anybody cry for traditional wasteful marketing spend, because it's ridiculous.
No, I agree. I agree that I don't hate that wasted advertising dollars won't happen. It's interesting because I wonder about programmatic, and I wonder where. Because I know it will make sense for certain types of products and certain types of advertisers, because it will, some people just need, even in the history of and I know a lot of my analogies go harken back to advertising that was done 30 or 40 years ago, but I always think that, everything comes, those are
it
like
all comes back. Yeah. I think it's like a 5-year cycle now,
Well, but the thing is that when I was growing up,
we lost Scott.
Oh, you lost me?
I see him. But let me jump in here, Scott, for a second. So because we have Robin and you two, and so I think this is an interesting. Robin, are you seeing a lot of more interest from the network, from the TV people and social? Is that sort of merging into sort of a combined notion? Because it seemed to me for a moment there that social might be the thing that could save live television.
That's true.
And I'm just.
That's true. Well, I think
you don't want to be. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Robin.
Oh no, I think I lost what you were going to say. Sorry. I think social probably is helping to save live television. I mean, it's helping to save Twitter. Twitter's doing a much better job of integrating its product offerings with, particularly sports, but also live television.
Well, I mean, there's some. Remember that television. Television right now is an odd thing because we say television and we mean live sports and live news, but we also mean, and we might mean some entertainment shows like Empire or How to Solve a Murder that are very social media driven, but Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, that are sort of they're really event television, even if it's pre-recorded, right? Because everybody gets together and, sorry to be moving around here. But everybody gets together as a community and watches a show and is talking all through that, essentially, on social.
And that's a totally, I mean, I've been heartened to see that
I'm gonna drop off. You guys are great. You're doing a wonderful job. I love this, but I think I'm screwing it up because my experience with Blab is 2 people works great, and when you bring a third person in, it gets funky. So I'll say goodbye.
Hey, well, it's great to see you, Robin. All right. Well, that was Robin Carey, publisher of Social Media Today. Awesome to have her. And that's how you and I met, as through Social Media Today. And they certainly are bringing together the thought leaders and so forth. So, so Scott, what are you seeing right now? That right now where you're saying, wow, that brand really gets. Have you seen a brand that's really getting social at the moment?
Well, I pay a disproportionate amount of attention to media brands. So those television brands that I just mentioned, that these network television shows that are sort of fighting the headwinds of time shifted viewing to try to figure out how to offer up an entertainment product in real time that doesn't have to be time shifted. So you'll want to watch the advertising and you want to talk to people while it's going on. So I have the person who gets it is ABC's Shonda Rhimes. I mean, she just, when they gave her a whole night of television. I mean, kind of an unprecedented thing that this one, incredible executive producer produces a whole night of network television because she knows how to build, event must-see television, I guess, and must-talk television. And so even though a lot of her stuff gets time-shifted, I mean, my 17-year-old is watching seasons like 3, 4, and 5 of Grey's Anatomy, many years after they were shot, thinking it's a new show. But
it's new to her.
Stuff. And so to me, watching that kind of emerge as a new expertise is really interesting. So I do like that.
What's she doing? What kind of things is she doing that is working? I'm just because I don't watch the shows. So.
I don't either, but I've been sort of studying the shows because.
So tell me what kinds of things she's doing.
Well, she's throwing in way over the top plot twists that you can't, if you miss the show, it's all over Twitter. You're going to get it totally spoiled for you. And you have to watch it at the time, partially so you don't miss it, and partially so you can have the pleasure of the conversation that goes on during it. At the same time,
like, can you believe that just happened?
I can't believe that. Right? That like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. But at the same time, I think it's been interesting to watch how some of the cable networks have responded to the talk-worthiness of their entertainment programming by putting on conversation programming right after, like the Talking Dead after The Walking Dead, which is literally just social media come to life, kind of. It's like, okay, we know you were just having a social media conversation while this shocking episode just was on. Let's talk about it.
Right.
And I mean, how great is that? It's very meta, but it's kind of fantastic. So I watched that, and I watched those examples. I'm like, wow, what's going to be next in this? What we'll do next to break through this and make it exciting. In news, in the world of news, like those debates, the Democratic and Republican debates that have just been on, that of course was, very successfully integrated social media, but you couldn't, you could have time shifted it or just watch the highlights, but you more wanted to watch it with the rest of the world and but you were really looking for the shocking moments. You were looking for
Yes, exactly. Those tweetable moments.
Right. And there was a promise that there would be them because of who was on that stage.
Right.
So that's what Shonda Rhimes is doing in her scripted television. That's what Lee Daniels is doing with Empire on Fox. That is, that is like the brass ring right now, is to get something in the scripted entertainment space that will get people to watch it in a linear fashion, so they have to watch all the ads, and they'll want to talk about it at the same time, and the audience will be big, and the audience will be very sellable. That's a thing.
Right. And so I'm just curious, did you have any execution in Snapchat while you were at Weather Channel?
No, I think they probably use it now, but when I was there, we had not touched it yet, partially because it was very, very young. Very young. Not an audience that was that weather engaged, not weather content. They might be interested in the weather, but not in terms of weather content. So and news organizations probably use Snapchat a little bit, but that audience isn't there yet. But I think Snapchat's very interesting. Snapchat is way overperforming what I ever expected Snapchat to be doing. So I give them a lot of kudos.
Yeah, well, and you and we have a problem. More so me than you, in that none of my peers are Snapchatting. So, I have to. The only friends I have are my son and my daughter, and they're not exactly excited to Snapchat with Dad. Although they will if need be. So as we look ahead, and as we look ahead to this sort of the future of social, we'll focus on the future and social with media. It sounded like there was this gray area in the programming, is that the storytelling was extending well off the screen onto, if you will, the third screen, and that social was just an integrated part of the programming. Is that one of the futures that we should expect?
I think we're on the verge of having to redefine kind of what social is.
I think you're right.
Even Snapchat is, when kids talk about Snapchat, they'll talk about the stories that they posted on Snapchat. It's not sharing a picture or a tweet, it's sharing a story. So suddenly they're sharing narrative, even though it's shorter narrative and it's not usually, but there's going to be people who distinguish themselves in telling narrative on Snapchat, even if just among their own social circles or in their city or maybe nationally. We're going to have to, younger people already are open to falling in love with talent that they discover on YouTube through 10 2.5-minute installments of something that they've done over the last 12 weeks. I will listen to an 8-episode podcast and it will become my new favorite piece of content anywhere, like with Serial last year. And I have a whole bunch of others that I love now. I mean, these things didn't exist for me this way 5 years ago. I don't know what 5 years from now will be, and I'm already surprised at how many different screens, how many different devices I am willing to have a content experience on, and how much less I rely on the linear television screen for that experience.
Right. Curious, because I don't think you and I ever talked about this. Did you work with outside agencies on any of your social when you were at the
Yeah, we worked with, yes, we did. We worked with a wonderful agency in Atlanta called Vert that helped us figure out some stunting ideas and some other types of content ideas that could take advantage of our weather knowledge and our weather reporting, but might go in another direction. But mostly for stunts and promotions and related to the promotion of something else. And
because your bread and butter content was just coming almost out of the newsroom, I would imagine. I mean, out of your normal content.
I think that, I mean, you've seen it if you like, a lot of news organizations now have decided to double down kind of on their digital content space anyway. And because digital video is the most lucrative of the digital content. So just like you heard our friend at Social Media today is talking about display advertising. Well, I don't think anybody is betting on display advertising as being the growth engine, but they can still make a lot of money off of digital video by, pre-rolls and things like that until that goes away. And, so that, I think that area of invention, like what are these new forms going to be? Where are they going to take in advertising? Everything is where the heat is right now.
Interesting. Well, I think someone is trying to join, but I don't know if we're going to be able to let her. And do you know who that is? I'm trying, but it just it doesn't want to play. So maybe I've learned that running. So anyway, we've got like 2 minutes to just dazzle our audience with some brilliance. And one quick thing that I think is really important is that, the days of organic social, you and I talked about this a lot, and even with a Weather Channel, which has strong fan base and lots of inherent interest in the content that you're delivering, you still spend a fair amount promoting some posts to make sure that people saw it, right? I mean, paid media in this for even a content provider like yourself is still essential.
Yeah. I mean, because, everybody has their version of this, but at the Weather Channel, a big storm approaching the mainland U.S. is being covered by a lot of different places, and you want to just make sure that they think that they recognize that the Weather Channel is on top of that, and they had, something going on. We would do the same thing at CNN. A big debate coming up. They heavily promoted it, and they promoted it off their own channel. And they knew that they were going to get the largest audience for that most recent debate that they had, the Democratic debate. They knew they were going to have they knew going into it, they would have the largest audience in the history of Democratic debates, candidate debates. And they still spent off-channel marketing dollars and promoted social tweets and all that kind of stuff. I saw all of that work, and I think they were right. They were right to do it. And but you do it. You just don't. You
just have to.
You got hot. You want to make sure at the very least it's in front of people at the right time.
So speaking of the debates, and one stunning thing that I saw yesterday was that Donald Trump blamed an errant tweet on his social intern. And, and I wish Ted Rubin was on, because we talked about twin turns and the need for them to be dead 4 years ago. And here is a presidential candidate relying on an intern to manage his social. Hello.
Right.
I found that sort of flabbergasting, and you know, it just maybe suggests that there is it hasn't quite the word hasn't gotten out as far as I had thought it would.
Well, I also think though that there is a notion that the kids know how to do this better because it's social media, so they don't. And I don't know what the Trump campaign, how that's constructed or what. So I'm not commenting on that. But in general, what I've seen is that businesses really struggle with how to staff their social media operation. And some people who want to put trained professionals in there, but there's nobody who's really a trained professional in social media. I mean, there are, but there's not and you don't necessarily know if the right thing to do. A lot of these are older executives who don't know social media. And so they were like, well, I college kids and set up a war room, and they're my listeners, and I was like, are they allowed to speak on behalf of the brand? Like, are they supposed? Are they going to respond in real time to something? And they'll go, oh yeah, they're supposed to respond right away and look for an opportunity to inject our brand into the social conversation. I'm like, so you're trusting that they understand the brand voice and that they won't say something that's too provocative for what that brand really wants to stand for. Like, there's a lot of issues related to this, and you still have to have somebody who can literally be held accountable. I don't think an intern can be held accountable. I mean, if you're
and a junior person can either as well. So Scott, it's been great. It's been great chatting with you, and I appreciate you weathering all the technology storm that I had to deal with. But now I know the phone is the go-to channel. In case you want mobile, right? In case you want to read more, you can always pre-order CMO periodic table. Scott is in there under social media success. I want to sign off with this little sucker there. Yay. And again, thank you so much for joining me today, Scott. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
I totally enjoyed it. Thank you for having me, Drew.